To present our newest Hall of Fame inductee, please welcome production designer of Ed Wood, The Ring, and Hell or High Water, and former governor of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Tom Duffield.
Well, that's a tough lead to follow, huh? Whoa. Okay. So first of all, I'm really honored to induct such a great artist and designer into the Art Directors Guild Hall of Fame tonight. A couple years ago, if you recall, Rick Carter was introducing a contemporary, Terrence Marsh, into the Hall of Fame, and he asked, what is the Hall of Fame? And tonight it's going to be a little different because my inductee shuffled off this mortal coil in 1948 at the age of 57. And to me, a Hall of Famer is not just a great designer, and he's not just an Oscar winner or someone with just a great body of work. That person is all of these and more. And tonight's honoree worked at the early days of film making and establishing a standard that still echoes today. It's his historical significance that makes Carl Jules WEYL a true Hall of Famer. Since I was never able to actually meet and talk to him, I'm limited to historical references. So after training as an architect in Berlin, Munich, and Strasbourg, Carl was educated as an art director at the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris. He came to San Francisco in 1912 and started an architectural firm, Gogarty and WEYL. They designed a lot of notable Hollywood buildings, like the Old Palace Theater, which is now called the Avalon Hollywood. Carl then went on at his own and designed his most famous Hollywood building, the iconic Brown Derby, which I'm really well aware of because we used a takeoff of it as a set in Ed Wood. And during the Depression years, there was very little construction being done in the US, so Carl teamed up with Cecil B. DeMille, which led him to being hired at Warner Brothers as a staff art director. Under that contract, he designed many films, including Ready, Willing, and Able, and Kid Galahad. And from those, Warner Brothers recognized his talents and offered him The Adventures of Robin Hood. That led to his first Oscar. There were some amazing castle sets, if you remember that movie. To me, it's always been the big curved stone wall with a curved staircase that came down around it, and they had the big sword fight. Saw the big shadows on it because the torches had fallen over. It was just a great cinematography meeting a set. And from what I've been able to tell, I believe that The Adventures of Robin Hood was Carl's only major color film. And Carl was ahead of his time as an early designer on the dangers of war and anti-Nazi films as he teamed up with Michael Curtiz. And if you look at the credits, there are at least 6 anti-Nazi films at the beginning, in the 1940s, at the beginning of World War II. But Carl's teaming with Michael Curtiz on one of those films lead us to his film that is probably his most important to me and Carl's most famous film, which of course is Casablanca. The movie wasn't a big build by today's standard. Thanks. It's a brilliant movie. To me, it was a brilliant movie. And it's not just a great script and cast, but the Rick's Cafe set, with its intersecting arches and its 2-level approach, made filming perfect. It was like it allowed wide shots of the big room. It had the high shots where Rick could look down and kind of oversee the club, and it also had the kind of the intimate spaces up above for the love story that we all remember. The street bazaars were kind of done in the back lot, of course, and it was kind of hokey, but it felt right to me. Yeah, the studio backlot movie it was, but it's at the top of my list of favorites. And if you're a biggest fan of it as I am, I just recommend, if you haven't seen it already, to check out the Casablanca exhibit at the Academy Museum, as they have a lot of pieces from the movie. They have Sam's pianos, they have the doors from the club, they have tons of props, and they have a lot of photographs. If you want to see more of Carl's work, check it out. Carl went on to do many more films, and he received another Oscar nomination for a movie called Mission to Moscow, which was also, by the way, directed by Michael Curtiz. He actually designed 48 films in his career, and in the clip we're about to roll, you'll see the wonderful touch he had with the 30s or 40s deco in his sets. And I'll tell you from my own experience, black and white films are a different animal. His final film in 1947 was Escape Me Never, and was considered by many as one of his best. He was a designer for the ages, and tonight we're honored to have his great-great-grandson, Carl V, watching via our live stream. So sit back now and enjoy a short reel of the great work from this amazing designer. Thank you.
Jules WEYL was a very famous architect, but was a great illustrator himself. There was a refinement to a film that sprang from him.
Jules WEYL did an excellent job of recreating the Oval Room in the White House as it looked in President Roosevelt's time, even down to the naval prints and the ship models decorating the walls.
Mr. WEYL would always come up and talk for a few minutes and tell you a little bit about the story, tell you what he had in mind. But if you have something better, to give it to me. He was just terrific to work for. And his work showed it.